And hello and welcome to episode 4. As I promised in the last one, I said we were going to take apart this Desert Eagle 1911 today and show you how to clean it. And I'm glad that y'all joined us today again. And again, I'm going to just state that this is really geared for new shooters and new people to guns. And it's really all about making sure your gun's safe, because if your gun's safe, then it's going to be fun. Because these things, they're great for protection, but it's also good to just go out and enjoy, blow off some steam. You would not believe the stress relief that you get from firing, spending some time on the range. So, because this is for beginners, I'm going to take apart the 1911, but I'm also going to take apart this SD40 when we're done with the 1911. So now all the basic cleaning tips are going to be about the same. Only thing that's really going to be different is the way each one of these break down, because it is a little different. And even this Desert Eagle breaks down a little bit different than any other 1911. Most 1911s actually have a barrel bushing, which, if you look at the end of this, you can see there is no bushing here. Normally there's a silver bushing that goes around the muzzle and kind of clips here underneath the guide rod, and you'll have to turn that, I believe it's clockwise if my memory serves correctly, a quarter turn to take it off. Well, this one is different. There is no barrel bushing on this one. Alright, so we're going to start out. If you remember in the last episode, we talked about the takedown notch. So we have our slide lock notch here, and then right here is the takedown notch. So in order to take this down, you actually have to slide this back to where that takedown notch. I'm going to bring that up closer. You can see the takedown notch here has to be lined up with this. So as soon as it's lined up, just on this side, you'll push here, which you can sort of see where I've already pushed it. And if you push there, it pops this up, and it takes that holder out. Set it aside nice and neat. So from this point, you basically just slide it straight up. Now, here's where it gets a little different, which most 1911s have this. It comes with a little pin. I lost my pin, so I basically took just a straight pin, little needle, and bent it just a little bit at the tip, because it's a little out of focus, sorry, but you can see that little hole there. You'll want to slide that little hole pin inside that hole to hold back the spring. When you do that, you can slide the whole barrel out. Okay? Now, you'll find in this, like the SD40, you'll normally slide this forward and up. That's not the way the 1911 does. At least not this one. You're going to plop that down. So you see this little pin here? This little pin has to move forward in order for it to slide out the front. Okay? So now we have the slide, the barrel, which I'm going to slide these down here, and then you have this whole assembly here. Now I do take this part probably about every other time. It's really hard to get that spring back on when you do. And as you can see, this slides out, that spring slides out, and then those are your 3 assemblies for the guide rod. Alright. So the first step is get you just a good cloth or towel or whatever. I have this t-shirt that I've gotten from a gun range or a gun seller. I don't really like what they have on it, but works great to help wipe down any residue. Alright, so we're going to wipe all that down. Now we'll have to come over some of these spots, because you see how dirty that is? I mean, we're going to have to get in here and brush that away. The ammo ramp. Alright, yeah, so you see the difference? Here's a quick side-by-side to give you an idea. I hope you can see it in the camera. I can't really tell from the angle that I'm looking at it, but so we want to get all that excess gunpowder off of there. Sometimes you'll get some in here that's really caked on. Wow, that's pretty dirty in there. I did go out to the range today, which is part of the reason why I have to clean it. Shot about 100 rounds, which, you know, I'll shoot anywhere from 100 to 300 rounds each time I go, depending on the day and how much money I have. Alright, so now we got that excess stuff off the barrel. Beautiful. Alright. Go in here, make sure there's no extra buildup, which now that looks pretty dang clean. Which, like I said, I mean, the guide rod by and large, unless I'm using steel ammo, doesn't really get too dirty. And even with the steel ammo, it's nowhere near what I would classify as extra dirty. A lot of people do complain about how dirty steel ammo is, and it is a little dirtier, but nowhere near to the extent that some would lead you to believe. Alright, so we have that wiped off. So we wiped everything there off. Now we're going to wipe off this. Now the slide, big thing is right in here in this groove. You want to make sure there's no residue or anything like that in there. And the benefit of the 1911 is everything on it is metal. The bad thing about everything on it being metal, though, is if there's a lot of moisture from water, not oil or lube, it will have a tendency to find some rust on it, especially if you fired it. This particular 1911, I've probably shot 1,200 or 1,300 rounds out of it. Zero malfunctions, might I add. For the price, this is definitely nowhere near an expensive 1911, but it's not the cheapest either. Rock Island's probably the cheapest. Okay, and you notice I'm trying to clean out any residue in there. Alright. Rock Island's probably the cheapest, but this one will run you somewhere around the $720 to $750 range, depending on where you're buying it at. The place I bought it would ran me about that price. And man, I cannot complain. I fired a Springfield one originally, and I think I'll take this one over that Springfield. Alright, so now that we got all that residue and dust out of there, because I carry this as my concealed carry one, there's some dust that likes to really get in there because it's always cocked back and ready to go. Which if y'all go into concealed carry, y'all have to decide what type of weapon y'all want to carry. And it's got to fit you. It's got to be something you enjoy. Alright, now we're going to have to clean this here too. Okay. So it's going to have to be something that you enjoy firing, because if you're not going to go to the range and practice, then it doesn't matter what you do. That weapon's not going to help you in a life or death situation. But because Most of the people that's watching this is probably beginners, since that's what I have it geared for. You're probably not looking at concealed carrying right now, but you may in the future. While I'm wiping this down, next episode we're going to go through and do the common malfunctions of a gun. And we're going to show you a couple of slides. That one's going to be pretty close to the first 2 episodes, the way we did that. Just because I don't have a whole lot there. There will be a little bit of a video, but a little bit of me talking in it. But it's going to definitely kind of be more of a slideshow, hybrid, a little bit of both. Alright, so we got everything wiped down. Everything's looking good. It's beautiful, I tell you what. Alright, time to start sliding things back into place. Now, I told you sometimes this thing right here is a bear. Because you got to slide that back. Sorry if I got off screen for a second. Hold that back like... Alright, lost my oil for a second. Alright, so got everything wiped off, and now it's time to get inside this barrel, because you want to make sure it's inside the barrel too. One, it just helps with the efficiency of the gun, and two, if you have a bunch of buildup and stuff in there, it heightens your chance for a squib load or just a complete malfunction in general. And like I said, next episode we're going to talk about malfunctions, and you'll understand what a squib load is. Basically, though, it's when you fire a round. Okay, you see I'm sticking some oil on here, because I'm going to slide this through. Now, some people say this is a little too much oil, but I like to have that inside nice and coated. But back to the squib load. It's basically when a round's fired, but the bullet does not leave the barrel, and it's extremely dangerous. The last thing you want is a squib load, because that can cause a lot of problems. Alright. Anyway, so it's very dangerous. So we're running this through, and I don't know if you can really tell, but as I'm running it through, I do twist it a little bit, just to make sure that it gets in those grooves. Yeah, that's pretty right there, I'll tell you what. Now I use that little bit of excess oil that's on here. Alright. So, now we got that thing looking pretty. And, so there you go. And nice clean top there. Wow, a little bit of goobers here. Alright, so we got that all taken care of. And I'll also roll this just to kind of get in here nice and neat. Basically what this allows me to do is any excess oil or anything like that, or excess dust, I can get it to remove because I'm using the oil. Yeah. At every little nick and cranny. So, because I don't want that pin. I don't know if you can see it. You can sure see it there. But there's a little pin in there. That pin that's in the middle there will shoot and hit the ammo. I don't want that to get stuck when I need it most. So, I try to make sure I wipe all that out. I'll also go in here and wipe out here and here with this pad. There we go, beautiful. It just takes out, you can just see how nasty this this cleaning swab is getting. But just like to get all that, just to make sure that there's no loose dust. Alright, so now inside here, these little tracks, just put a couple of drops, boom boom, on both front and back. Alright. Move that out of the way. Move that out of the way. Alright. Now we're going to slide that barrel back in like so. And if you feel it, see, when it's in there right, it doesn't move much. So that's a good sign. Alright, now if you look at this, see there's a little U shape, that's going to go up against your barrel. We're going to slide that through like so. Don't ask me why I was trying to go the other way. Alright. And just slides in. And then you can, there, and use your thumb, push it enough to pull the pin out, and then ease it back, like so. Alright. Now we're going to, now if you look at the back here, there's little grooves on both sides. Those grooves need to line up with these grooves. So, when they do, it will slide right into place. Now you notice that stuck a little bit, and that was just because this needed to be pushed up a little bit. So you just tap it in, and before you rack it, go ahead and slide this in, because it will help you in the long run. Okay, now if you put your thumb here, your fingers here, you can slide it back until it's in line. Okay, and then as soon as it's in line, it will push all the way through real easy, so you don't have to force it. And then give it a couple of racks just to get that oil to move through. There you go. That is taking apart the DE1911C, aka the Desert Eagle 1911, and it is without the barrel bushing. And I do put a small coat of that oil from here on the outside. Not much, because you don't want too much, because you don't want your hands slipping when you get ready to rack it. But I will put a little coat on there like so. And then blotch off any excess. That way my barrel doesn't, my slide doesn't break. Alright, boom. So, and because I use this for my concealed carry, I'm going to put this back in its holster. And then we're going to move on to the SD40. Now, I'm not going to clean this one. Now, anytime you get ready to clean, you want to remove the magazine and make sure it's not loaded. There, as you can tell, that one was loaded, ready to go. So now, it's not. So, the SD40, it is slightly different. We're going to slide this back and lock it into place. Because remember we talked about the slide lock notch and the slide lock. Alright, and we're doing that just so we can look inside, make sure everything is good. You never want to look down the barrel. You want to look down the barrel this way through the ejection hole. Alright, so I told you this one's going to be a little different. It is. It's very different. I also want to point out that we went over the parts of the gun, and you noticed that this particular gun has no hammer. This particular, any type of gun that you have that has no hammer, it's generally thought of as a striker fire, because it does the same thing. When you rack it, it sets up a spring in here. So when you pull the trigger, it releases that spring and sends that striker right into the primer, where normally you would have that hammer back here and it hits the striker and causes it to fire. So anyway, so this one's a little different, but it's actually kind of easier in some ways. So this one, we're going to do the same thing we did on the other one, because you just want to relieve enough tension. Okay? And then right here, there's one here, and there's one on this side. You got to grab a hold of those together, pull down, and as you pull down, let go of the slide, and boom, the slide comes off. And this one, and then you have your spring here. It comes off real easy. Now this one, the spring and everything is pretty much stays on the rod. You can take off the spring if you need to, but by and large, I just leave it on the rod. In more cases than not, the spring will actually come on a rod. But if the case comes where it's not, then you can always take it off. And then this slides right out like so. Super easy. And then you'll clean it just like we did the 1911, where we go and wipe everything down real good and make sure it looks pretty. So I appreciate it again, and I thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe below. And remember, a clean gun makes it a safe gun, and a safe gun's a fun gun. Thank you again, and we'll see you in episode 5. Thank you.